like I said in my Goodreads review for this manga, somebody needs to check that man's hard drive. And they need to do it now. So I actually want to animate my intro, but I can't draw well yet. So, this is a placeholder. This is Mex here, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about anime, manga, and all types of different media that just piques my interest. Today, I'm going to be talking about Matron's daily life. Now, I found out about this manga a little after my I Love Atsushi video, which you can watch if you click my icon. But I watched a TikTok and it was basically like this really creepy audio, and then it was like, oh, this is the most disturbing manga ever, and then all of a sudden it showed like this one manga, and I found the name and it was Matron's daily life. So I decided to read it, not expecting it to be that bad. I should have listened, but my mom has said that I've always been hard-headed, so I guess it's not exactly a shocker that I didn't listen. And listen, this manga was hard. It was hard because, I don't know, like, do you ever read something and while you're reading something it kind of makes you feel kind of icky? Like, you know you're not that type of person, but reading it starts to make you feel like you are. Because that's what it was like. Like, you know, I'm not a pedophile, but, you know, reading that manga, I felt like I was a pedophile. Like, I feel like that's what pedophiles feel like. I felt disgusting. It was something else. Like, I didn't even want to type it into my computer for the script. So that's why I'm going to be using my handy dandy notebook, because I'm not typing this shit back out. Like, rereading the notes that I had to make while reading this manga and then having to like type that back into my Google Docs, I do not need anyone from the FBI looking through that shit and being like, no, we're not doing that. So let's get started. Mai-chan's daily life is about this girl about 16, 17 years old. We don't get a definitive age about Mai-chan. All we know is that she is supposed to be a young girl, but she doesn't look young enough to be like a child. So I'm going with the assumption that this girl is between 16 to 17 years old, youngest being 15, which I really hope it isn't, but knowing this author, it probably is. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. The manga has 12 chapters, just 12 chapters, and I'm going to tell you this right now. Here are the warnings. Very serious gore, pedophilia, because like I said, I felt like a pedo watching this, and finally rape. It's full of rape. So there's a lot of rape. I'm going to tell you that up front. Like, there's so much rape. I didn't think a piece of fiction could contain so much rape, but like every single chapter has a rape scene. Every last one. I don't know how you manage to incorporate a rape scene into every single chapter, but this man somehow managed to do it. So let's finally get into it. So we start off the series with Matron, and we get like this whole description, and it's already a rough note to start on, because the chapter title literally reads, "Perhaps if you had a young girl to do what you pleased, what would you do?" And then immediately after that, we see Mai-chan, this young girl, butt naked, getting brutally raped. This thing is gonna get age restricted so hard, but you know, I Love Atsushi wasn't restricted too badly, so hopefully the same won't happen with this one. But yeah, she is getting like brutally, very brutally, and you think to yourself, okay, well, that's enough. There's no way that it could possibly, you know, get worse, right? It does manage to get worse, because the guy is like holding her breast, and then he pulls out a spiked dildo, shoves it right up there, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. And like, I'm not talking about like, oh, it's like a silicone spike or it's like plastic. These are actual fucking spikes. Like, these are metal, sharp, can injure you type spikes. And he's like shoving it up and down, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then you kind of have to remember that this manga, the Mai-chan manga that I'm telling you about, it's a hentai. This is porn. Someone was reading this and getting off to it. They were jacking themselves on to a young girl being brutally raped with a spiked dildo. What the? Because it's like, oh, after all of that, and like, it's a lot. And he ends up like taking out a knife, right? And I'm talking about a sharp knife, like something out of like Aladdin, like those types of knives. Like, I forgot what the official name is, but it's those like curved knives, those really sharp curved knives. It's not a machete. I know what a machete is living in the Caribbean. It's not a machete. It's the curved knives that they use in the Middle East, but I can't remember the name. Editor me, what's the name? It's a scimitar. But like, that's what he uses, and he fucking kills her, and you think to yourself, oh my god, the girl is fucking dead. She's not dead, actually, because she is, as the manga describes, a physical idiosyncrasy. I think I remember what an idiosyncrasy is, but editor me, please put that in, because if it is what I think it is, then I don't feel like the author is using that definition correctly. Yeah, so I was right, because an idiosyncrasy is something peculiar. So a good example of an idiosyncrasy is like sniffing a book before you read it, or sniffing a book while you're reading the book. That's considered an idiosyncrasy. It's also, in medical terms, applied to someone having an abnormal reaction to food or medicine, so like an allergic reaction. So the way that they're using it is kind of weird to just like describe this girl who can't die. Now, that was just a prologue. We still have 11 more chapters to go. I mean, I guess technically 12, but we got a long way to go. So chapter 1, Mai-chan walks into a park wearing a cloak and then takes it off and is butt fucking naked again, a knife at her throat, saying that she is going to kill herself. And before you think, oh, at least the park, it's a public park. The park is in fact public. And when I tell you it's a public park, like, we're talking about not just like people there. There are children. There is a little boy in the frame. Like, this is the photo. There is a little boy right there. So this is getting really dangerous. And of course, everyone is freaking out because, like, oh my god, this girl just got butt naked, pulled out a knife, and is saying she's about to fucking kill herself. And she does do that. She takes the knife, she punctures it into her stomach, starts slowly bringing it down, and then once you think that's enough, and it's like, oh, it can't possibly get worse, right? It can't possibly get worse. She starts to disembowel herself. She digs her arm and it starts disemboweling herself. This, if you don't know anything about manga or anything, the technical term for this is called, I think it's seppuku. And it's basically like an honor killing where you kill yourself and also disembowel yourself as a way to repent and gain respect for doing something wrong. I feel like just regular suicide can count. I don't think we need to go as far as taking out the intestines, but you know, back in the Middle Ages, we were fucking insane. And she's doing that, and like this one guy, and he's a real G, because it's like, me personally, if some girl got butt ass naked in the public park and then started ripping her guts out, I would have already been out the fucking gate. But this guy actually comes over to her and is like trying to like save her and keep her safe and like try and like help her, and she's just like, oh, I'm so sorry you had to see that. He's just like, no, it's okay, we're just trying to keep you alive. Like, he's actually a real one for that, because I would not have been so merciful. And she dies, and while all this is happening, we see like a camera and like a lady there too, and as someone is like calling an ambulance, she's like, oh, ambulance interference. So like, it's obvious that someone is like recording her and keeping things together with her. And as she dies, you don't really think anything of it until chapter 2. This woman, she comes out of the bushes. Her name is Kaede. And she comes out of the bushes and she's just like, the video is supposed to be titled, Teenage Girl Commits Seppuku and then Slits Her Throat. And then she gets mad at her because it's like, oh, you didn't slit your throat, because she died before she could slit her throat. And it's like, well, damn. I feel like, who needs this? Who needs porn this graphic? Genuinely, like, I think you need therapy. I'm just saying, if you need to get your rocks off, like, the only way that you find yourself getting your rocks off is by watching people get brutally maimed, tortured, and downright killed, I think you need to be in a mental hospital. In fact, I think you need to be in an asylum. I feel like there's no hope for you at this point. There's no hope. Nothing can help you. please move away from society. Nothing can help you at all. But that's neither here nor there. And she starts like stepping on her. And keep in mind, her entrails are on the ground. She is stepping in this girl's entrails. Now, of course, Mai-chan, her whole thing is that she can't die. So like, you could cut her head off, take out her intestines, remove everything, bash her to a pulp. She's still going to be alive. She's going to live through it. And so she feels all this pain. So she's feeling this person stepping into her fucking organs. And it's like, well, damn, bitch, what the fuck? So she gives her like this fucking chicken. So I guess that we don't really get much insight about how she regenerates. Sometimes it seems as if it's like, oh, she just needs to like, you know, wait a little bit and then she can recuperate. Or maybe she needs to like put her organs back in or do something to help her like get back together again. But it looks like food seems to be something that helps with that too, because she just like, she shoves like an entire rotisserie chicken inside her stomach. It feels awful that I have to take pictures of these so that I could put in the video. These pictures have been on my phone for like the past week. I really don't, I just know that someone, whoever is looking at our devices, is probably looking at my phone and is like, and I can't really blame them either. Now, you think that that's like not a whole lot, but it really is. It just keeps going. So Mai-chan is basically a servant. She is a maid, but is more treated like a servant. Like, she doesn't have like hours and stuff like that. She doesn't get paid a whole lot. She has her own room, and she is basically sold off to like really rich people so that they can use her body and commit like graphic acts on her, but like they don't have to deal with like the whole murder charge thing, which is, you know, it's something. I'll have to say that. But like, really? Again, I feel like if it gets to this point, maybe you should just kill yourself. I don't know, man. I'm just saying what's on my mind. I would personally just kill myself if that's what I had to do to get myself off. And it's like, I'm still not over the rotisserie chicken. That's the thing. Like, this is a picture of the rotisserie chicken. I had to blur out as much as I can, but like, this is what it is. I don't know, man. And you think, it can't get worse. In her quarters, she's all healed up now. Everything's okay. You know, Kaede, she comes in because she's also a maid, but it seems like she's more like one of like the head maids, or just like a very high ranking maid in comparison. And so she comes in and she's telling like Mai-chan like, oh hey, I have a pet that I want you to take care of. And Mai-chan is like, and she's like surprisingly bubbly and happy for the situation she's in. But I guess that's like the appeal to like the people who are getting off on this. So she's like, oh, is it a dog? Is it a cat? It's a human quadrupedal amputee. It's a quadrupedal amputee. I can't make this shit up. I can't make this shit up. I wish I was this creative. But I'm also not that fucked in the mind to do this shit. Like, it's something else really and truly. And it's like, I know that I'm like babbling and talking too much, but it's like, it's the only way I can like cope with this. Because it's like, what the fuck? Now, in chapter 2, Mai-chan is obviously terrified because this is a woman. Her name is Sayurin. I think it's what, Sayurin? Yeah, Sayurin. And, you know, she's obviously scared because seeing how these people have already basically sold off this, like, 16-year-old girl to, like, multiple people almost every day to be, like, brutally murdered and raped, I wouldn't exactly be shocked that they kidnapped a random woman off the street and just, like, amputated her. And, like, for a reference, the woman can't talk at all. She is, like, completely mute. Like, she's just mute. And I'm assuming it's from trauma because, again, I'm 100% sure that they cut off her limbs. But anyway, Kaede is telling, Maid to take care of Siren. And Siren needs to eat. And she's saying that she wants that Kaede wants Mai-chan to feed this girl with her meat. And I know what you're thinking to yourself. Her meat. Like, cut off her arm, feed it to her. And, Mai-chan is like, why? And she's just like, do it. And it's like, but why? There's no explanation as to why. So Mai-chan obviously does not want to feed this woman human fucking meat. And so she's trying to make her like a simple like grilled cheese or a simple soup. But Kaede is there and she's just like, feed her your meat. And she's like, I'm just gonna make her this. And then she's like, feed her your meat. And she's continuing to be like, feed her your meat. So Kaede, obviously getting that Mai-chan does not want to do this, takes like the little things that you use for like blood pressure or like blood drawing, ties it around there, shoves this girl's hand into a meat grinder, starts grinding this girl's meat so that they can make like hamburger patties to feed to her. And so they go in, and of course, the lady's not dumb. She might not be able to talk, but she can still hear. So she obviously heard the whole, oh, we're gonna feed her human meat thing. And of course, when you see the girl who's supposed to be taking care of you come in, missing an arm, carrying 2 hamburger patties, well, you can come to the assumption pretty quickly. She starts freaking the fuck out. And you can't really blame her, because how would you not freak the fuck out? And Mai-chan is just like, well, please eat, you gotta eat. Because guess what happens when Siren doesn't eat? They just take more meat off. If she refuses to eat the hamburger, then they're gonna take even more meat off her. And that's kind of what happens. So, and this is where it gets bad. Because she refused, Kaede calls in like a bunch of security guards. And the security guards, they come in and they like grab her and they start like holding on, and it's like they don't have to have her caressing her breasts like that, but of course it's porn, so they have to be caressing her breasts like that. And just when you think it can't get worse, they just start like cleavering her. They start like butchering her breasts, butchering her legs, like all to get like meat. And they're making all these different types of dishes, but of course the girl's refusing to eat because they are butchering this girl like right in front of her. And the thing is that they're still like trying to get her to like cook the food too. Like they're cutting off her limbs, but then they're also forcing her to cook the food by like having a guy there and like holding onto her stub arm and having her like flip the food. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, what are we fucking doing? Like, this makes no fucking sense. And then at some point, I think Siren at some point is just like, they are really not gonna stop torturing this fucking girl until I eat something. And keep in mind that Siren is like older than Kaede. Not Kaede, is older than Mai-chan. So it's like, oh damn. So I guess she's like trying to be like a good senior and like help her underclassmen, but it's like, damn, this is fucked. So she eats the human meat, and after she finally eats the human meat, Mai-chan is like, thank you so much for eating the human meat. I just feel bad for them all. Except for Kaede, fuck that bitch for real. But chapter 3. Now, Mai-chan, thankfully, isn't always stuck within, like, the mansion. It's, like, this very big European-style mansion. We never meet the owners of this mansion, if you're wondering. We just know that they're there, and they saw this girl for money. And that's really about it. So, she's out shopping, enjoying her time. She's buying a few earrings for Siren to, like, help her feel a little special. And then these 2 guys, they come up and they're just like, oh, you're a pretty girl. We kind of like you. I feel like I don't need to tell you where this ends up. They end up raping her in an alley. Like I said, they are going to incorporate rape at every turn in this manga. Every turn, you're gonna get a fucking rape scene. So, after all of that happened, Kaede, not Kaede, I keep saying Kaede. Mai-chan, Mai keeps mentioning a curfew and how she has to get back before curfew because, of course, they don't want her, like, going to the police about this. So, of course, they have, like, some sort of, like, I guess, curfew in place to make sure that she doesn't, like, wander off. So I guess she overpassed this curfew, and the guys, they're still raping her. And then there's a big commotion in the streets, right? There was a fucking tiger. A fucking tiger comes out of fucking nowhere, wreaking fucking havoc. He comes into, like, the, in the alleyway where all the guys are, right? Where the two guys are. And this tiger, like, fully butchers the one guy who's, like, actively still raping her. And he's just like, just, like, crunches him down and is able to, like, literally rip off half of this man's body. Like, most of his head and torso ripped off. And then the other guy that's there who had stopped, he runs out of there because of course you fucking do. And you think to yourself, well, damn, this is kind of handy. And then you see that the tiger picks up Mai-chan. And do you want to know where the tiger picks up Mai-chan? He grabs her by the fucking pussy like Donald Trump. Like, can I show the image? This is me showing the image. I have to censor the fuck out of it, obviously, but it's like, he grabs her, like, he bites down on her fucking pussy. Bites down on her pussy, is dragging her by her fucking pussy back to the mansion, because I guess the owners have somehow trained this tiger to, like, go back and get her if she doesn't come in time for curfew, which is like, how the fuck do you do that? We get no more explanation as to how they fucking do that with the tiger, but that's what it is. I guess whenever she overpasses her curfew, the fucking tiger comes to pick her up. I'm not over the fact that he just, like, bites her on the fucking pussy. Like, that's what's getting me. Like, bite her on the fucking pussy too. Like, damn. Now, in chapter 4, both Siren and Mai are being raped. And the thing that makes this one really just, like, fascinating, not like in a, oh, this is so cool, more in a, this author is so fucked in the mind, I don't even think the best therapist could figure out what's wrong with him. They're being gang raped. There are, like, 5 other men. And here's the thing. They're doing this to test out a new knife. Niggas ain't shit. Like, they're just, well, you know, Ray from My Job at McDonald's, he's a cool guy. Ashno from My Job at McDonald's, he's also a pretty cool guy. So, you know, not all men are shit, but a lot of men are. Because it's like, I feel like if I were told that I'm going to a demonstration for a knife, and I walked into a room to see a teenage girl naked screaming for her life, I think I would just walk right out of that building. I really wouldn't give a fuck about my job. Like, I don't know what the fuck else I'm supposed to really do in that situation. I'm surprised. I cannot wait to see these new knives that you design. I mean, I use them all the time. I can't wait to see how better this gets. Well, I'm glad you think so. Believe me, these knives, sharper and better than before. And we have the perfect demonstration to show them off. You ready? Hell yeah, man. I'm so excited to see this. Alrighty, here we go. What the actual fuck is this? Oh yeah, that. We're just gonna brutally rape and torture this girl. We're gonna, like, slash her up with the knives to show you how sharp they are. What? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do any of that? Like, why would I want that to show the durability of a blade? Well, geez, genius, how else would we demonstrate the sharpness of a blade? I don't fucking know. Cutting up steak, a sushi demonstration, something that's not fucking insane. Well, how old is that girl? 16? Where did you even find her? Listen, we just, like, bought her. We have her for, like, an hour, you know, so you might as well just do it. I mean, come on, it's not, we don't even have to worry about killing her. I'm good. I'm good, actually. I'm perfectly fine. Oh, come on, man, don't be like that. Get the actual fuck away from me. And they're, like, slashing her. Like, they're using this knife to, like, cut her up and cut her open. And then, like, the guy who I guess is in charge of, like, making the knives or owns the company for the knives is, like, groping Siren's breast. And, you know, she can't find anything because she's a quadruple amputee. And it's like, damn, this is just fucked. And it's like, when I tell you, they are stabbing this girl. Like, they're just putting knives in her all over like she's a fucking pincushion. It's absolutely fucking insane. And, you know, Siren, she's, like, getting worried, even though, like, you know, she can't really die. But it's like, you know, she's still obviously worried about the girl. And she gets way too close, and then a knife falls out of Mei's body and lands directly into Siren's eye. This girl can't have shit. Like, every time she starts forming some sort of connection to somebody, something bad happens. Like, it just keeps happening to her, and you gotta really feel bad about it. And in chapter 5, you know, Mai-chan is having like this dream sequence, and Siren is there. She has all her arms. She has her arms and her legs. She's talking, and she's just like, you know, I'm so happy, and I'm so thankful that you were so nice to me, Mai-chan, and I hope that you don't let this define you, because you are your own person, and I love you for that. And, you know, it's really sweet. It's really, really sweet. And then, you know, she sees the dead body, and you think, oh, well, that's tragic. And Kaede is there, and Kaede is just like a bitch. Like, you know, I wish, take all my suffering and put it on that bitch. Like, that's how I feel about her. She's a fucking cunt. And not in like a serve kind of way, just like a cunt kind of way. She takes the dead body outside. She ties up Mai to a post in the elements, naked, and it says, you can leave this post when Siren's body returns to the ground. So she literally has to sit there and wait for the body to decompose into the ground, which, I don't know if you know anything about bodies, but it takes a very long time for decomposition to happen, especially depending on like the elements, the seasons, stuff like that. So if this was in like the winter time, it would have taken a much longer time for the body to decompose because of the cold. But it looks like it's taking place in the summer, so thankfully that made the body decompose much quicker. But of course you have to deal with the smell, and don't even get me started on like the bones. For like the bones to sink into the dirt, it would have to have rained a lot. So homegirl has to have been sitting out there in the elements for about 2 to 4 months. That's how long it would normally take for a body to decompose. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 2 to 4 months is how long it would take for a body to like fully decompose. And if you want to include the bones as well, that could take even longer, because we do have bones of humans who were buried. So that could literally take forever. So flesh alone, probably about 2 to 4 months. But bones, that would be an entire year. So because of like the trauma and her literally having to like stay and watch her friend decompose, she basically like forgets it. Like, she goes into a basic fugue state where she just like forgets that any of that happened, or that like the girl ever existed to begin with. But when she sees the earrings that she bought for her, she immediately starts like crying. And it's like, so deep down there's like a memory of Siren, but it's just not fully there yet. It's like PTSD basically, and it's not very obvious. Well, it's obvious, but yeah. Chapter 6, we get a new character, a person even younger than Mai. His name is Kasuna, and he is a little boy, probably the oldest being 10 years old. And he is introduced as like Mai-chan's brother. Now, I didn't say this beforehand, but in the previous chapter, while Mai-chan and Siren were being raped, there's like a window that they can like look down and see everything happening, and Kaede is there with a little boy, Kasuna, and he's watching down, and Mai-chan is just like, and this is how we treat the servants, and you'll get to treat servants like that one day too. And then he's just like, I can't wait to treat someone like that too one day. Yeah, he's introduced as like Mai-chan's brother. Now, they're not biologically related, they just have the same condition, which is basically they can't die. So that's their relatability. Now she's basically trying to teach him the ropes of everything until she's like injured because she like fell out of a window. And then Kaede, wearing a fucking dominatrix suit, takes Mai-chan because she passed out because she got a very serious concussion, and ties her up in like this 50 Shades of Grey sex dungeon with Kisuna there, naked. Again, keep in mind, this is a child, 8 to 10 years old, and he's naked, and he is tied up, chain around his neck, and Kaede says that, oh, I didn't want you to teach him the ropes as in teach him how to clean. I wanted you to teach him the ropes as in how to do your job as a servant. So Kaede starts getting like a cow whip, whipping her, beating her, takes a chain, takes a knife, does all this shit, right? Then she goes over to Kisuna, right? Starts beating on the kid, abusing him, but he starts like moaning and he starts moaning in pleasure, and we come to find out that unlike Mai-chan, who when she, you know, is beaten up or stabbed, obviously would feel pain, the boy feels pleasure. So there's that. And when you think can't get worse, it got worse, because what does she do? She takes the little boy, places him on top of her, on top of Mai, and forces it inside her vag, and just forces them to have sex with each other. You see why I said I felt like a pedophile when I was reading this? Because when you remember that someone is like getting off to this, like you're reading this and you're utterly disgusted and revolted. But then this person is reading this and is like, they're actually getting pleasure from this. Like they're jacking themselves off. And it's like, damn. Some niggas need to die. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm being honest. Now, chapter 7. And we just keep going with this fucking pedophilia shit, because in chapter 7, the customers are little girls. I'm talking that they're younger than Kaede. So these are like elementary school girls, the same age as Kisuna. Now, they're in the fucking sex dungeon again. And like the girl, she's stepping on Kisuna's penis. It's a whole fucking mess. It's 3 little girls, and there's like this obvious like head girl who's supposedly the whole like mean girl stereotype, like that type of shit. And like, and it's something else, I gotta tell you that. So then, you know, a bunch of graphic shit happens, and I guess after like getting their rocks off enough, the girls force Kaede and Kitsuna to fight. Now the thing is that Kitsuna and and Mai have started to like care for each other, right? Like they've been caring for each other like so much now, because they're kind of like understanding their suffering a little bit. And you know, now they gotta fight each other to the death. Now of course they can't die, but you know, no one wants to beat the ever-loving shit out of someone they care about. So he takes a mace, you know, like the spiky balls, that's a mace. Takes the mace. She takes brass knuckles. He starts wailing on her ass. I won't even lie. Like, even though he was like, I don't want to hurt you, sis, that motherfucker did not hesitate in using that fucking mace. And it's like, you know, I guess I get that. And a chance for survival, you really don't want to go through that. But it's like, damn, nigga, you did not hesitate. Like, he was beating on her. And you think, well, that's it, right? Kaede and Kisuna, they're going to be bestest of friends. Yeah, so turns chapter 8, and I just kind of kept this short because it's like not a whole lot happens. Basically there's these 2 guys, and they're like raping Kisuna and Kaede, because of course they're raping. You know, the men just love to rape in this series. And as they are assaulting them, they're about to, like, you know, reach their climax, and Kaede is there with an axe. And as they're about to reach their climax, she butchers both of their heads, like, just decapitates them like it's the fucking French Revolution, and takes their head. And then they start using their head as like a fucking fleshlight, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what the fuck? And after all of this happens, they want to keep the head. And they do. They get to, like, keep the head, because it's like, what the fuck? Of course they want to keep the fucking head. They're fucking psychopaths. And that's really it for chapter 8. Thankfully, we're almost at the end of things, so that's a good thing. Chapter 9. So the girl from earlier takes Kasuna, and, you know, Mai-chan, forming a connection with him, wants to go back and get him. And, like, Kaede is like, hey, don't go there. They're not going to let you take him back. They're not even going to let you say hello or goodbye. They're his property now. He is their property now. And she just like, no, I'm going to go get him. And she goes running back to go get them. Turns out the girl told her security members that if Mai were to come onto the property, to brutally gang rape her. It's always a fucking gang rape. And they start, like, tasing her and beating her up and cutting her up. And then they throw her into the garbage. And then the garbage disposal takes her. And of course, because it's past her curfew, the fucking tiger comes back to take her back. Because why the fuck not? Why wouldn't the tiger do that? And in chapter 10, so I thought it was 12. I mean, I guess it's technically 12 because it's 0, but it's 11, technically. In 10, Mai-chan is pregnant. How is she pregnant? So, when it came to other clients, I guess their sperm didn't interact with her eggs as well. Or I guess her body kind of flushed it out like it was some sort of, like, disease. But because her and Katsuna are both, like, you know, they have the same condition, I guess that allowed for her body to allow her to get, like, pregnant. So she is pregnant. And, you know, she doesn't really know what to do, because it's like, if she terminates the baby doesn't even get a chance at life. But if she does give birth to the baby, then the baby is just going to be subjected to the same tortures that she's been through. So it's a very rough decision for her, and she doesn't really know what to do. And, you know, it gets worse, because of course it does. Now, she is, like, heavily pregnant. I'm going to at least say she is 8 months in. Like, pregnant enough where it's like, okay, the baby could survive outside the womb, but not enough where the baby is ready to come out. And you might be wondering, why am I saying specifically old enough that the baby can live outside of the womb? Well, there is a client who is very obviously supposed to be based off of, like, an American president. I'm not even gonna, like, front on that. Like, the way that he talks is supposed to be based off an American, and he does seem very important because he has, like, a bunch of security guards. So it does seem like a president. And keep in mind that this manga was released in, like, 2005, so there could have been a good amount of presidents that that author picked from. It was either 2005 or 2003. It was one of the two. But anyway, I gotta hurry this up. So he cuts the baby outside of her, takes the baby, and starts licking the baby's pussy. My mom is back, so I can't continue, but we're gonna continue this late at night. Okay, as promised, I'm back again. We were on the last 2 chapters. So, like I said, the Mai-chan, so he cuts Mai-chan open, takes out the baby, and then, as the baby is crying, starts licking her vagina. It's cool. It's chill. Yeah, we're gonna pretend that it didn't happen. And as you think that can't get worse, the man, because the baby is crying, and he doesn't like that the baby is crying, he then splits open the baby's legs so that he can put his dick in it. We're doing okay. It's fine. Everything's fine. This isn't disturbing at all. After that, just when you think that it's enough, right? And keep in mind, Matron is like begging him to not do this to her baby. Like, this girl is pleading with him, hey, please don't do this to my baby. Please don't do that to my baby. He then somehow finds a blender. And he says, guess what I'm gonna do? And he puts the baby in the blender and he turns it on. Did I forget to mention that the security guard started like raping Kaede? I don't really give a fuck about that bitch. You know, I wouldn't wish rape on anybody. But maybe her. Just saying, maybe her. Anyway, she's getting raped. She manages to like disable both of the guys. Like, she just fights them off somehow. And then she takes like a nail, at least I'm assuming it's a nail, and just jabs it right into the dude's head. And like, he didn't die from that. In fact, he went right back to his home country about how great he was and stuff like that. It's really weird. It's a really weird way to end out the series. But anyway, Mai-chan is incredibly depressed because of her dead child. And that's where the series ends off. So don't read it. Check that man's hard drive. And please like and subscribe for more videos so that I can revamp my closet. Seriously, it really needs a revamp. But thank you all for watching. I hope you come again. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.